You are listening to Part 10A of the podcast series, 21 Qualities of a Leader.
I have found that leaders take initiative. It is true, leaders go first. Conrad Hilton said this: success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. So the question is, what makes a leader a leader? Well, a leader is not always the person who thinks first, and a leader is not always the person who sees first. A leader is not always the person who feels first. But a leader is the person who always goes first. You see, when it comes to action, where leaders separate themselves from anybody else is they go first. Now, let me just take a moment and help you to illustrate the importance of initiative. Let me illustrate it this way. I can win a 100-yard race with the fastest human being today. I can win a 100-yard race if I get a 50-yard head start. You understand that? You know what? I maybe ought to just detract that a moment. If I have a 60-yard head start, I'm getting fatter and older and slower all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I maybe, but you know what I'm trying to illustrate is very simple. The early bird does get the worm, and the person who goes first is going to win. And it's not the speed that normally determines who's going to win the race. It's who got started first, who got the, quote, head start. Now, that's the power of initiative. What initiative does for you and me is it allows us all to get the jump start on anybody else. We just get there quicker, so therefore we're going to pretty much end up with most of the rewards. In fact, I've often said when you look at successful people, that they have what I call the two bookends of success. On the front end is initiative, and leaders always do this. Leaders are not only action-oriented, they have the ability to take initiative when no one else is, when everybody else is still sitting and thinking about it, or when everybody else is sitting on a committee meeting or appointing a committee. Leaders they're out the door. They're out the door. They're action-oriented. They take initiative. That's the front end to the bookend of success. And the back end, obviously, is follow-through. They have the ability to complete. Now, what I found out about leaders is you can always delegate follow-through, but you can't delegate initiative. You have to do that on your own. You have to take that on your own first. You have to go first. I'm sure. And a lot of times we don't want to go first. Isn't that true? A lot of times we say, boy, how many of you ever thought, I certainly wish somebody else would get going on this? You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm sure when Moses led the children of Israel down to the Red Sea and they parted in all those watery walls, I'm sure Moses said to God, why must I always go first? And the answer to that's very simple. Because, Mo, you're the leader. And leaders always go first. So why is initiative such a strong quality in a leader's life? Number one, leaders know what they want. That's just the characteristic of a leader. They know what they want. Leaders are often uncertain, but never unclear. Now, this is a wonderful concept, and I'm going to just give me a moment. I'm going to talk to you the difference between, yes, I'm uncertain about things, but I'm not unclear about what I want to accomplish. Wonderful book that I read maybe a year and a half ago, The 5 Temptations of a CEO. In it are these words: you can't hold people accountable for things that aren't clear. If you are unwilling to make decisions with limited information, you can't achieve clarity. Leaders often are uncertain. Here we go. Leaders are often uncertain about decisions in the future. Leaders should always be clear about the direction. And too often, uncertainty causes the leader to not initiate. Now, we're going to stay right there for a moment. I want to make sure we get this. The goal of leadership is not to eradicate uncertainty, but rather to navigate it. Uncertainty is a component of every environment that calls for leadership. Where you find one, you will always find the other. This is very true. In other words, what I'm saying to you is when people say, well, John, what's the future hold? Well, I don't know what the future holds. I'm uncertain about that. Now, I'm very clear about things that I need to do today. I'm very clear about direction I want to take tomorrow. But I'm very uncertain about all the things that possibly can happen to me or all the things that can possibly happen to you. And what I found is the difference between a leader and a follower is the leader, although uncertain about everything that's going to happen tomorrow, is very clear on what they need to get done today. A follower, uncertain about everything tomorrow, allows that uncertainty to paralyze them and keep them from initiating and taking action today. I see that happen all the time. I see people say, well, I'm waiting for all the answers. I'm waiting for more information. And I mean, just to tell you, you're never going to get all the answers. You're never going to get all the information. There's no such thing as having such a report that would allow you to make a thorough decision based on everything. And when people insist, they say, I want to know everything before I make the decision, they're telling me they'll never make the decision. Because we just can't do that. We get, 60% of the information, and then we have to go make the decision, and we have to act upon it. Leaders, many times uncertain, but never unclear.